With the return of Verdansk, there's a shakeup to the perk meta, and for a lot of returning players, I don't think they realize a lot of these different perks either got buffed, nerfed, or completely changed because of how they decided to balance the game. And also, there's things that maybe might not have been meta because of how the balance was in Urzikstan, but now it has significantly more value because of what it actually adds to the gameplay loop. So we'll go ahead and go through the three various perks. I'm sure there's going to be ones that I cover that you think maybe aren't as good as another one, and you just prefer to go off meta or whatever the case is. That's perfectly fine. This is primarily to give a little bit more recommendations for people returning that are a little bit unsure where to start, or maybe how perks have changed in the past year or so with the addition of the BO6 integration and all the various perks. We have low profile up here. I would consider this a low to mid tier perk. Not really all that valuable. Crouch walking's cool and all, but obviously not going to really help in a ton of scenarios. It's very niche. Again, veterans, more of a super niche scenario. If you feel like you're running into people that are using shock charge and all kinds of other stuff like that, it becomes an issue. The thing where it does help is right here, this little bit where it says, while aiming down sights, reduce flinching and extended hold breath duration. So a lot of people aren't even aware of that particular aspect. That one's a huge bonus, especially with the quote-unquote sniper meta that we have, at least until some of these long-range weapons get brought up to be a little bit more competitive, or they decide to nerf snipers, which I hope they don't necessarily do, because I think the game needs more buffs rather than nerfs at this point, without completely breaking the TTK any further. So you do have a little bit of flexibility there with veteran. Again, reflexes. It kind of is a nerfed version of flex or whatever we had before. I can't remember if it was flex called. So this one doesn't really help with the audio, but with a lot of the prox mines, the lethals that people are just leaving around, this one's super beneficial for that. And it can help a ton with that because it's going to give you delayed explosive, which in a lot of cases allow you to get the jump on the opponent. If you run into a lot of campers, having all the equipment down, you can just breeze past it. They're not going to necessarily expect it. They're going to be expecting to go off. So this one's, again, more of a niche scenario if you plan to be aggressive through that type of a lethal equipment. Grenadier, explosive damage slows the health regeneration. I think it adds 3 seconds the last time we tested it. That's just off memory. Throw further and see preview. Kind of a low tier one, to be honest. Mountaineer. This is not the Mountaineer pass during the time when Mountaineer was godlike. That is not the case. This is giving you a marginal difference in terms of additional fall height. I know some people that are playing Resurgence on Rebirth Island still probably run this, but when it comes to big map, not nearly as valuable because of the play space and the play tempo is significantly slower, and the height really isn't all that valuable. Then we get into what I would consider the S tier. I was running Survivor before, and I'm still probably running Survivor most of the time. But one that way it comes down to is Scavenger. So you start equipped with maximum reserve, which is kind of cool. You just go grab your loadout. You're going to be fully stocked up. So you get fully loaded. That's one of the buffs they added to Scavenger. We also have the resupply equipment, ammo, plates, and get additional cash. I believe it's 1,500 from any person you kill. So you have a ton of things there. Let's say you're holding down a position and you are one of the people I just mentioned where maybe you put your lethals down. If somebody runs into that and dies, they're going to drop a scav bag. You go pick up the scav bag, you automatically restock your lethals. Super powerful. On top of that, whatever the cash people have, you're going to get an additional 1,500. So you're going to get their stack of cash plus the 1,500 that's going to come in the bag. And then you're going to get an additional plate on top of the plate that the player drops, which in the current plate economy, until they do that slight buff that they're going to do to crates or boxes, that you're going to have those additional plates then. This is like a preemptive on that. So this one all around kind of solves certain things. It solves that money issue. You're going to be able to restock your lethals and your tacticals, which are super powerful. And then you also have the ability to get the plates cash. Like, it synergizes really well in the current meta, especially for big map. And then Survivor, your allies revive you faster, which is cool. Get you out of a pinch if you get downed. And then the health regen is just faster, which can be a significant thing. Even though TTK is pretty fast, getting out of an engagement, resetting the gunfight to get the 2-3 plates in and health regen significantly faster is a huge W. So mine that I would lean towards are Scavenger and Survivor, but I'm sure there's people in the comments that will vet for some of these, but I just want to kind of go through because Scavenger got buffed like 3 different ways. Survivor is kind of a huge W. Mountaineer, if it was better, it would really pull for that, but there you kind of go with how that works. And give you kind of the recommendation based off of that. And based off your play style, you're going to pick one that makes the most sense. With the way the game currently is, it might make more sense to run Scavenger in some scenarios or Survivor in others. Maybe when you're coming back late game, Gulag, you're going to hit the loadout. Scavenger might be a better option just so that you get fully stocked. You have all your ammo, and then it's not taking that overkill spot that we used to have before or any of that type of stuff because that's a wild card. You're going to have both guns fully loaded, have all your equipment fully stocked, and you're kind of good to go. So, and then when you're regaining, and if you get a kill, you'll be able to have more money to get a chance to buy your team. Tons of value with Scavenger and then Survivor. Perk 2. Reactive armor is still a little bit slow. I think if you're really struggling with armor plates, it could be okay, but realistically, it's kind of a whack perk, right? If they super buffed it, made it way faster that you would regen armor plates and that type of thing, could be good, but I don't like it personally. Quartermaster's good. Again, it goes back the other part with Scavenger. If you don't have Scavenger, Quartermaster could be good if you're kind of locking down the area just to make sure you secure those lethals on repeat. Verdansk is a little bit more of a campier map, a power position-y, hold your ground map. And there's a lot of one-ways, at least until those zips get added towards the mid-season that we've already seen in Plunder. Quartermaster can be incredibly powerful. Bomb Squad, not so much. Even with this, lethals will definitely do a lot of damage to you. Tracker is insanely powerful at the moment because of the red outline and in combination of smokes. A lot of the faster TTK, people are going to lean towards using smokes to rotate. If you land one bullet, you get the clear outline your entire team does, which is way more powerful than the ping ever was. You actually can highlight and just shoot the person. And with the faster TTK, you're likely to down them. And each additional shot on them is going to reactivate that ping and outline. So super powerful in that specific scenario. So that's how that one works. Then there's Sprinter. This one's for more like super aggro players. Not knowing that if you pull out your melee weapon, you will get unlimited attack sprint anyways. So you're going to have that just by swapping, but you might not want to get caught out in the open with your melee weapon, having to swap to your red gun to try and shoot at range. So that could be like if you run into too many scenarios where you always have your melee weapon out accidentally, this could be the alternative just to cut down on those deaths. But that goes a little bit back to play style. Cold-blooded, I believe it actually works now. So it is good because it combats alertness, which then allows you to get that first shot on somebody without them knowing, oh, somebody's peeking, let me get to cover. So it can help out with that. And then obviously the footprints and then the tracker marks, which is the ping. So cold-blooded would be good if you're going to go through the smoke so you can actually avoid those bullets. Huge differences there where it's kind of like a rock, paper, scissors kind of scenario. Sometimes you got to choose rock, which gets beat by paper. But if you went with scissors, it would beat paper, but then like you lose to rock. It's kind of one of those things they've kind of built in. So it's not like an illusion of choice that we've had with perk loadouts before, where it's like perk 1 is this, perk 2 is this, perk 3 is this. Warzone 1 struggled that quite a bit. Amped was always perk 3. Overkill, Ghost, pretty much always perk 2 or whatever the case is. And then perk 1, well, whatever the heck that was, quick time or double time or whatever the heck it was. And that's kind of like was the meta. It was much harder. This one's a little bit open to play style and preference. Quick fix. It's cool if you get the down, get the knock, you get the kill, whatever, you're going to health regen much faster, which is good if you're an aggressive player. If you plate, it'll actually also trigger the faster healing animation. So this, if you're going to run this, I wouldn't necessarily combine it with Survivor because the second you start plating, you've already started healing faster than Survivor, unless you really just want to get revived faster while you're on the ground. That'd be that. Quick fix. Does have a slightly slower plating animation, but you can fire from the hip fire, so there is a little bit of trade-off there. Since the animation is slower, that could be an issue as well if you're not really accustomed to how that's going to work. Again, another trade-off. Personally, I just go with tracker. I think it's way too valuable, especially in the scenarios where you land one bullet and then it live pings them, outlines them. It's kind of crazy. And when you run that, essentially you're forcing your opponents to run cold-blooded, so they're losing out on value. But if you want to run cold-blooded, then maybe you're not going to have Quartermaster or Quick Fix. Again, tons of value in the Perk 2 category. Perk 3 is equally as contested, but I want to kind of go through that. Some people just like Quick Fix. It just depends on how you want to play. Generally, I go tracker though, but you can really go with a bunch of different options in Perk 2, which is kind of nice. Perk 3 is pretty straightforward. We kind of have these gung-ho, not so much. It would be cool, but it's just not as powerful as some of these in this category. Resolute, really not all that powerful. It's cool you get the extra movement, but by the time you get a shot, the movement's not going to stop you from dying most of the time. TTK is very fast right now. And I think with the longer TTKs that we had in Urzikstan, maybe this one had a hair more value, but now most likely if you're getting shot at and you didn't know where they were and you're in a bad spot, you're dead, right? It's not going to help you. Versus some of these can actually help you out. Ghost keeps you off the minimap if you're firing a suppressed weapon, but is hard countered by Bird's Eye. So this could be a different team dynamic. Bird's Eye gives you a lot of value, increases the range of that UAV. Keeping in mind that the UAVs changed about a year ago, where now whoever pops the UAV, who calls it in, that's where the pulse is going to spread from. Previously in Warzone 1, it would pulse from all players on the team. So even if you guys were 500 meters apart, each of you guys would get the pulse. Now, if you're significantly far apart, your teammates aren't going to see the pulse on them. It's only going to resonate and come out of the person calling in the UAV. So you're going to want to make sure that the Bird's Eye user is utilizing that so they get the bigger ping and the larger ping, and that's going to be able to spot the ghost players. So maybe the synergy is that one person running Bird's Eye, maybe the other 2 or 3 teammates are running Ghost. Because of the plate situation, Tempered ends up being a great option as well to be able to get 2 plates so you don't run out of plates as quickly. That's going to come down to play style. And then Alertness is high alert, and it's a little bit different. Now it's if anyone aims down sight at you. And again, if you run cold-blooded, this is going to get countered. That's where cold-blooded comes in to be super powerful. But Alertness will highlight the edge of the screen. But the more important part that I like about Alertness, it'll just tell you when somebody's in the proximity bubble. I believe it's 30 meters, which generally, if it's quiet, you can hear. But if you're in the middle of a gunfight, or if you're not sure somebody's in the area, or they were kind of camping, as you walk through an area, it'll just say somebody's nearby, which is kind of cool. And makes it incredibly powerful. I know some people prefer high alert previously. It's a little bit different. I think there's some parts of it that are better, some parts of it are worse, but it's going to come down to that. So that's kind of how the perks are. Again, there's a lot of good options in Perk 2 and Perk 3. Perk 1, I'm generally going to lead towards Scavenger and Survivor, but there is other utility there depending on your preference and play style. Hope the video helped you out. Appreciate all the support. Thank you for watching as always. Have a great day.